The Amazon Echo in its various shapes and forms have been around for a few years now, but have always just been purely an audio device. But that has now changed with the brand new Amazon Echo Show, which takes a huge leap by adding a screen. This gives it some new abilities that aren't possible in any of the other versions, but are they really that big a deal? If the other versions work totally fine without a screen, does having one even make a difference? Let's find out. And I'll put a link in the description if you want to check it out as well. As usual, we'll start out with the hardware, the physical device itself. It has a blocky, geometric design with sharp angles and corners, which I actually like. It's pretty much the opposite design of the cylindrical Echoes, but it's a modern look and I think it will fit in well on any countertop. One thing I did notice though immediately after taking it out of the box was how fat the thing is. I mean, I don't think any of the images on Amazon's site truly show the depth of the device, but at least the angled shape of it actually hides most of the back unless you're looking at it from the side. But we're not going to look at the side. Instead, we're going to start off looking at the front, which has the main feature, the touch screen, a pair of speakers at the bottom, and a front camera at the top. The screen is a reasonable 7 inches, and while Amazon doesn't specify the resolution anywhere on the product page, the developer page reveals it to be a surprisingly low 1024 by 600 resolution. However, I will say that I would not have guessed that it would be that low because the panel's overall image quality is great. So all the text looks sharp, color and contrast is good, and nothing looks pixelated. It also gets pretty bright if you want, so I'm happy with the screen. The speakers at the bottom aren't visible behind the grill, but the concept photos reveal that they're pretty big, which I assume is the reason behind Amazon Echo's Show's thickness. There's no doubt that the sound on the Echo Show is better than the regular Echo. It gets extremely loud and can easily fill the room. That being said though, I still feel like the overall sound had a bit of a muddy quality almost, like they kind of artificially cranked up the bass like a pair of Beats headphones or something. I mean, there isn't much separation between like the vocals and the instruments like you'd really get with a good pair of speakers. For its size though, it is impressive, but if sound quality is your top priority, you'll do better to just buy a dedicated quality speaker. At the top of the show, we have a familiar set of buttons. We have volume up and down and mute. When you press the mute button, it turns off both the microphone and the front camera, and it lights up a small LED that is red above the screen, and the screen will have an orange bar at the bottom, so you know. Also at the top, there's an arrangement of 8 microphones, just like with the regular Echo, to ensure that it can hear you all the way across the room. And finally on the back, it's just a power plug. So now that we know what we're dealing with, let's get into the actual features and using the thing. The interface is extremely simple and is clearly meant to be mostly used by voice. There's no list of apps to swipe through and actually no way to really navigate past the home screen at all. On one hand, this is nice because it maintains the hand-free feeling, but also kind of makes the screen seem a little bit redundant, almost like an afterthought. Most of the informational tasks you'd use with Echo never required a screen, so it usually just ends up displaying the same exact thing it's saying. It doesn't really need to be there. That isn't always the case though, and there are some cases where the screen does add pretty good functionality. When you're asking for the forecast, for example, maybe you don't want to wait for the Echo to read out the entire week's weather and just want a quick glance at what the temperatures are, which this will show you. It also makes the shopping list more useful since you can actually see and scroll through the list when normally you'd have to go to the Alexa app and do that. And when you have multiple alarms and timers set, you can see a list of them all at once. It can also use some services like YouTube where you ask it to show a video about whatever and it will. But again, the functionality here is super limited because it just does a search and plays the first result with no option to choose more specifically. So if it mishears you or if what you want isn't the top result, well, that's just tough. Touching the screen while a video is playing doesn't really help either. It just pauses the video with no further interface at all. The only exception to the lack of interface is the drop-down bar you can access by swiping down from the top of the screen. This isn't even well documented and there's no visual cue that you can even do that, but it gives you a button to return to home, adjust brightness, and enable Do Not Disturb, and bring up the settings menu, which appears to be the only menu. There are actually a lot of options in here to play around with, including customizing the home screen background photo, changing what info cycles through the home screen, and changing the wake word. Many, but not all of the settings are adjustable through the companion app, like enabling adaptive screen brightness can only be done on the device. But there is one feature that is completely new with the Amazon Echo Show, which is interesting to say the least. It's called Drop-In, and honestly, I have no idea what the hell Amazon is thinking with this one. Drop-In, when enabled, allows other people within your house or selected contacts to just pop onto your Echo Show's screen whenever they want, no approval needed. Not only that, but they can see your side of things through your camera. So yes, they could just see into your house without any approval on your side at all. I cannot imagine anyone in their right mind wanting this enabled. Now, there is a warning that someone is dropping in because it chimes and shows a green light, and that person will see a frosted screen for 10 seconds. In this time frame, you can reject the drop-in, but I think everyone can see why that doesn't really make things any better. Imagine a situation where you just step out of the shower, realize you left the fridge door open or something, and quickly rush to the kitchen to close it before you get dressed. And as soon as you walk in, surprise, your friend is staring back at you. Awesome. Amazon claims that the drop-in feature might be used as a type of baby monitor or to check in on elderly relatives. Yeah, right. I don't care how old you are, no one wants people just being able to pop in unannounced and see what you're doing at any given time. Nobody wants that.
Can we show Grandma?
Sure. Alexa, drop in on Grandma. Drop in on Grandma. Drop in on Grandma.
So yeah, the drop-in feature is incredibly stupid, so make sure it's disabled on all of your Echo devices, even if you don't have an Echo Show. It can be used in all the devices. They claim it's disabled by default, but when I went through all my devices in the Echo app, it was enabled on them, when I definitely did not do that. But in any case, I'm probably gonna put tape over the camera anyway, because frankly, I don't trust Amazon enough for that. Especially because when you walk into a room, it changes the screen to the home screen. So that just shows that the camera is on all the time, even if it's not recording. No thanks. All right, now the final thing we need to go over are the so-called Alexa skills, which are basically additional apps made by third parties that add functionality to your Echo devices. These are available on all Echo devices, but now they'll be able to take advantage of the screen when used on an Echo Show. There aren't really that many that do support the Show yet, but that's not surprising considering it just came out. And there's at least one that is pretty neat, which is the Nest Cam skill. And this lets you say, show me the camera wherever, and it will actually bring up a live feed of your Nest camera. If we can get more skills that add this kind of practical functionality, I'd be pretty happy. So let's finish up this review by answering the simple question, is the Amazon Echo Show worth it? Right now it costs $230. It's the most expensive Echo device to date. Personally, I haven't found myself actually using the video features very much. If I want to watch a YouTube video, it just makes more sense to search it on my phone and find the specific one. If you plan to do video calls of some kind, then maybe it might be useful, but then the other person would also need an Echo Show or use the mobile app, and I don't think most people will go through that trouble. Ironically, I think the best part about the Echo Show is the speakers, not the screen. If you don't have any Echo device and want one, and you also want a smart speaker, well, this could be a good way to kill two birds with one stone. Really, the screen just kind of feels like an extra little convenience feature, as opposed to like a primary selling point. And one other thing about the Echo Show is, in my opinion, it's much more conspicuous than any of the other Echo devices. Just by the nature of it, you can't really tuck it away anywhere. Like I said, it's pretty fat, so you can't put it too close to a wall. And with the screen always on, it's going to be immediately drawing your attention when you walk in the room, even if it's just sitting at the home screen. So if you want my overall opinion, I'd just say it's not necessary. The screen doesn't add much in terms of functionality because both native features and most add-on skills have to support the least common denominator, which is an Echo without a screen. So unless you really like the idea of a screen, which you might, it's probably best to just go with a regular Amazon Echo or even an Echo Dot. So that's my review. You can let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you want to keep watching, I'll put some other videos right here that you can click on. And also consider following me on Twitter. I almost never mention that one on here, so figured I would. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.